if you've been following my YouTube channel for a while, then you already know I have a ton of videos all about Linux. I have distribution reviews, tutorial videos, and more. But in addition to loving Linux, I'm also somewhat of a hardware geek as well. I have gadgets all over my house. I have an awesome desktop that I use for editing video, and I also play some games on it as well. I have several laptops that I've accumulated over the years. I even have a server rack with 2 Proxmox servers in a cluster that I use to test out software before creating tutorial videos. And my server room is complete with a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade cabinet because let's face it, there's no greater way to settle your differences with another IT admin by playing a friendly game of Mortal Kombat. In all seriousness though, anytime I get an opportunity to review a new piece of hardware, I always want to jump on it because it's so much fun. So I'm really excited to announce that I have the new 2019 System76 Gazelle in my possession, and I've actually been playing around with this for a little bit over a week. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys all of my thoughts. I'm going to show you guys all about the hardware. I'm going to show you the various ports, an overview of the hardware itself. I'll play some games, and one of them is actually M-rated, so just a little warning if you have any kids watching. And I'm going to show you basically my thoughts on this laptop. So I'm really excited to bring you guys this review. So let's go ahead and check it out. So here it is in all of its glory. I think that it's a very futuristic design. In my opinion, it looks very similar to the Oryx Pro, actually extremely similar, with the main difference being that it's an inch smaller, but it has a similar design aesthetic. It just looks very futuristic. Here on the left side, you can see the fan vent and Kensington lock there on the left. And then we have 2 USB ports, as well as a microphone and audio jack. Again, this is on the left side of the laptop. And then on the right, we have another fan vent. We have an SD card slot. We have a display port. And then we have another USB port as well. And the back, I mean, look at it. It's just so futuristic. You could actually see that there's glow coming from the panel that you can see through the back of the lid. And that is just plain awesome. And there's ports in the back too. We have a USB-C port there on the left with HDMI as well, a physical Ethernet jack, and the barrel connector for the power. And the USB-C port is not Thunderbolt, unfortunately, which in my opinion is a downside. I do feel that every laptop manufactured today should have Thunderbolt. So that is a downside, but that might not be a downside to everyone. Because, you know, maybe you don't have a Thunderbolt device and don't plan on owning one, but if you do, that's just something to keep in mind. In regards to the keyboard, it's very pleasant. The typing experience is great. The backlight is nice and bright, makes it very easy to see the keys in the dark. And by holding down the function key on the left side of the keyboard and pressing the backlight control keys, you can actually change the color of the backlight itself. Turn it off if you prefer not to have it at all, or you could actually just lower the intensity or increase the intensity to adjust the backlight to your liking. So here I have a look at the display in very low light just so you guys can see what it looks like. And as you can see, the screen looks great, or at least it does in my opinion. It's a very nice display. And then here I am showing some footage of gameplay of Doom, which I'll get more into later, just to show you how it would look with some fast action. But all things considered, this is a pretty awesome display. When it comes to the trackpad, it's pretty standard. It feels nice. My finger just glides right over it. And we have physical left and right mouse keys on this trackpad, which I actually prefer quite a bit. And here we have the AC adapter, which is actually fairly slim. And as you can see, we have a barrel connector, and that fits nice and snug into the back of the laptop to provide power. And here I'm going to compare the size of the Gazelle against the System76 Gazelle Pro, their 13-inch ultra portable model. As you can see, there's a decent difference here. And then when we flip it around, you can see that the Gazelle is quite a bit thicker than the Gazelle Pro. Again, that's to be expected, but just in case you wanted a size reference, well, there it is. All right, so there you go. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch over to the HDMI feed straight off the laptop itself, and then I'm going to show you guys the output of commands like LSPCI, I'll bring up HTOP and things like that. And then from there, we'll go ahead and get into some gameplay footage. All right, so I've plugged in an HDMI cable to the laptop that goes into my screen recorder, so you're seeing the feed directly off the HDMI port. So what I'm going to do is show you guys a few things. Now again, this is running Pop! OS 1904. Now I've done some customization. As you can see, I have a space picture here. I love space pictures. I'm a space fanatic, and I have customized this quite a bit. So what you're seeing here is not going to be exactly what it looks like for you if you were to buy this machine. This is me with my customized layout. Now with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a terminal, and I'll increase the font size for you. All right, so let's look at the output of the LSPCI command. This will show us all of the hardware that is included with this machine. So if you'd like, you can pause the screen if you wanted to research any of the individual components here. A couple highlights I'll give you. We have the Intel Wireless AC 9560 wireless card included. That's awesome. And speaking of Ethernet, at the end here, we have a Realtek network card. This is the physical network card, and we can see the model number right here. I'm not going to read all of that off to you, but it does work great for me. But if you'd like to do your own independent research, there you have that. And we also see some information about the NVIDIA card that's included here. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and open up the NVIDIA utility. And again, I am running in NVIDIA mode. You'll know that because you can click up here at the top upper right, and then you just go where the battery icon is, and then you can select your video card right here. That does require a reboot, but I am currently running off of NVIDIA. And here we can see some information about the NVIDIA card itself. It's a GTX 1660 Ti. If I click on that, you can see some information about the card itself. We see that it has about 6 gigabytes of video memory. We can see the number of CUDA cores and all the information you could probably ever need to see. Then you can go ahead and take a look at this and just see whether or not this video card, the specs are going to satisfy your needs. As far as I'm concerned, my games work, so you know what, I can't complain. And then down here, we can see the idle temperature is 45 Celsius. I haven't had this get extremely hot or anything like that, but I did get the fan going quite a bit when I was playing Doom, but that's to be expected. But it runs well, and you know what, I have no complaints, and this is an awesome video card, so happy to have that in this machine. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and clear the screen, and I'll bring up HTOP. And I think this is fun. I have some things running, obviously, so it's not going to be idle, but you can see the number of cores here. Actually, there's only 6 cores. There's hyper-threading, so it shows up as 12. And then we have about 16 gigs of RAM. Some of that is reserved, but there is 16 gigs of RAM. We're not using any swap space, so that's good. I'm not really working this machine. But, you know, I don't know about you. I just love seeing a crazy number of cores. And yeah, I know 12 is not really crazy. I mean, years ago, we would think that that's amazing. But I've seen a lot more than 12, believe me. And it's always a good feeling to see all these CPUs that are just waiting to do your bidding is just a great feeling. But right now, 12 is fine, especially in a laptop, and it gets the job done for me. Definitely a very fast CPU, so there's that. And the memory, the SSD, everything runs very well. Speaking of CPU, let me go ahead and exit this. And I'll do cat/proc/CPU info. I'll scroll up a little bit here. It's just going to be the same information repeated 12 times, but we can see the model number of the CPU that it comes with. Again, it's the i7-9750H. It starts at 2.6 gigahertz, and I believe it's 4.5 gigahertz with turbo boost. And then we can see that it does have 6 cores like I mentioned, but again with hyperthreading it's going to appear as more than that. And there you go, that is the information on the CPU. So let's check out some gameplay footage, but before we get into that, I just want to take a moment to mention my sponsor, Linode. Linode is an awesome provider of cloud Linux servers. Setting up your Linux cloud servers or Linodes is quick and easy with their intuitive Cloud Manager interface. There are multiple instance types available to make any app or service flexible and scalable. If it runs on Linux, it runs on Linode. Use your Linode server to host a website, set up a VPN, create a Nextcloud instance, host a game server, and more. You can set up your Linodes in a data center nearest you with their latest opening in Mumbai in July 2019. If you need assistance, 24/7, 365 friendly support is available by phone or support ticket. Visit the URL on the screen right now to get started with $20 in credit you can use towards setting up your very own Linode. There are Linux instance types available for as low as $5 a month. So let's go ahead and get back to the video. So first up we have Borderlands, one of my favorite games. I just really love playing this one. Now I noticed there's some jerkiness with the graphics here. I did go in and increase the resolution to make sure that it matches properly. I also went ahead and changed the settings to basically make sure that everything is high to kind of give this thing a workout. But I could see that there's some jerkiness here, and I don't really think that this laptop has anything to do with it because every laptop that I ever run this game on always has the same problem. In fact, my desktop has the problem as well. And of course, you know, I'm not very good at this game, but you get the point. So let's move on to Skyrim, one of my favorite games of all time. And this game is not natively supported by Steam or Proton, but you can get it to work if you tweak a little bit and force it to use Proton. But I had a little issue, which you'll see here, where I wasn't able to hear any of the voices at all. When I first installed it, I didn't have this problem, but then when I closed the game and reopened it, I noticed that I couldn't hear anything that the characters were saying. So I'm not going to show you too much of this game for that reason, but as you can see, it does work. Other than the audio issues, it runs really well. The colors look great. This is actually the special edition of Skyrim, so I was really happy to see that this does work, and I'm sure if I spend a little bit more time, I could probably get the audio issue figured out. It did work fine the first time, so maybe something got changed in Steam or it updated and I just need to tweak something, but you know, it's fine. The fact that I was able to get this far very easily is awesome. And here we have Doom, and I wanted to give this laptop a workout, so I did make sure that the quality was set to Ultra, and it seems to be handling it quite well. This is another one of my favorite games, and I basically run this on every laptop I review because it does give the GPU a noticeable workout. It may not be the most highly advanced game ever made, but it is something that's not so easy to get running depending on what kind of hardware you have. But here we can see that the frames per second are actually, pretty high. I can't complain at all. So it doesn't stutter for me. I don't know if it's showing in the screen recorder that it's stuttering, but for me it looks perfect. The screen recorder can actually introduce a little bit of stuttering. But it does work very well, and it's a very fun game. I enjoy playing it, and I'm glad to see that it works here. So I thought this would be an interesting challenge. I wanted to go ahead and install RetroPie so I could play some classic games on this laptop. Now, obviously with this CPU and GPU, most of these games are going to be nothing for emulation. So I really wasn't trying to see if this laptop could play emulated games. I knew that it could, but I wanted to see what the experience was like for installing RetroPie on an actual x86 machine. But in addition to that, one of my favorite games is Star Ocean: The Second Story. The PSP version is the best, at least among the ones released here in the United States, because it has additional features. But on a Raspberry Pi, this game can sometimes crawl, so I wanted to go ahead and install it on this laptop and see whether or not it can handle it full speed. And I also wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to stutter. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose to create a new game, and for me I'm going to go ahead and choose Rena as my character because she's my favorite. Now here at the very first scene when she's talking to her mother, this will often stutter on a Raspberry Pi, but you can see obviously the Gazelle handles this no problem. I had no reason to think that it wouldn't, but I just wanted to play this game without it having any stuttering, so I'm finally able to do that on this laptop.
How about taking a break for once today? You were just there yesterday and the day before that.
So at this point, I'm going to navigate over to the first forest of the game, which is where a scene occurs that often causes the game to stutter.
Phew. Something about the sacred forest just makes me feel refreshed. I think I'll try going in a little further today.
Probably not a good idea.
It's so pretty. I really wish my mother wouldn't worry so much about me. This place couldn't possibly be any safer.
And there's something behind you.
Go on, run!
And here we have the very first battle of Rena's scenario, which often causes my Raspberry Pi 3 to choke. But as you can see here, this laptop is handling it with no problem whatsoever. It's a really old game, so again, not that impressive, but it is nice to be able to finally play this without any stuttering or slowdown. I get this question a lot in my reviews where I'm asked how long the battery lasts, and basically I want to give you guys that information, but I'm going to give you a disclaimer. It might sound obvious, but it's one of those things that's really hard to gauge because everybody's use case is completely different. So what I decided to do, and I understand if you guys disagree with my approach, but it's the only way I could think to do this, I decided just to basically unplug the laptop, disable anything that's going to make it suspend or shut off the screen, and then just let it run idle with nothing running just to get some kind of a baseline. And I did this test twice. First, I did this on Intel, and then I switched over to NVIDIA, and then I did the same test. And what I found was that just idling with, again, the screen not sleeping or suspend, nothing, just basically the laptop staying on by itself, the Intel mode lasts about 5 hours, and the NVIDIA mode lasts about 3. So obviously when you start putting some workload behind this, then obviously those numbers are going to go down. If you're the type of person that you really want a laptop that's going to last a very long time, you'll probably want to look at the Darter Pro, also by System76. I reviewed that one previously. One of the main selling points of that model is the battery life. This laptop is basically for content creators and enthusiasts and people that play games and things like that want to get some actual work done or could just benefit from the extra horsepower. And with the extra horsepower does come with a little bit of a loss in battery life, so just keep that in mind. So there you go, guys. That was my review on the 2019 System76 Gazelle. I really do love this laptop. I also love the Oryx Pro as well, but for me it was just too large. That's not really a problem though, because a lot of people like large laptops. I think my sweet spot is around 14 inches. But, this is close enough for me with the Gazelle in 15 inches that I think the extra inch isn't going to bother me a whole lot. I do like the fact that it is smaller than the Oryx Pro. The fact that it has a GPU means that I can enjoy all of my favorite Linux games. So whether I'm doing some serious work or, it's the end of the day and I want to have some fun with Doom or something like that, then, I could do all of that from one machine. My only downside here is that it doesn't charge by Thunderbolt. Actually, it doesn't even have Thunderbolt. So one of my requirements personally is that any laptop I use from now on should have a Thunderbolt port. This laptop gets me pretty close to having one laptop to do all the things that I need to use a computer for. So actually, it probably could be that laptop. I would just have to plug in 2 different peripherals. The USB-C port does deliver DisplayPort, so you can actually plug in a USB-C hub and include your keyboard, your mouse, your monitor into that one hub. And then the only other thing you need is the power cord to charge it. And you can essentially have this be your desktop with two cables connected. So hypothetically, this could actually be my one laptop to do all the things. But I do prefer to have just one cable to make it neat on my desk, but that's not a deal killer. Overall, this laptop is really, really awesome. I really do love the performance, the speed, the power of the GPU, being able to play my games like I mentioned, in addition to getting my work done all on the same machine, is really awesome to me because I'm really used to having a separate desktop for gaming and then the laptop for everything else. So we're getting closer and closer to having just one machine to do all the things. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And I'm going to keep paying attention to System76 to see what they're up to next, because they're always coming out with something awesome. So I do recommend this laptop for those of you that want more of a workstation type laptop, but you might not want something as large as the Oryx Pro. The GPU, the CPU, the specs definitely deliver. Like I mentioned, it performs very well and it's fast. So I do like this machine quite a bit. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. If you want to help me out, make sure you check out the description below this video, where you'll find links to my latest book, Mastering Ubuntu Server 2nd edition, as well as my Patreon page. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button and share it on Twitter or any other social media network. And be sure to subscribe so you'll be the first to see my latest videos as they're uploaded. Thanks again.